It's all coming in. The show's coming down. Things are coming along. We're starting it to get around. If you just stay on there, your Twitter will sync up, your YouTube will have a thing, and then that's what's up. Alright. So, we're gonna get this show going today. It's gonna be a fun one. Hope you guys are ready to play. And we want to thank our sponsor for today, Roundly X, for letting the show come in and go on hard and strong. Because, I mean, if you can't have Roundly X, what are you doing? Because Roundly X allows you to round up every transaction into Bitcoin so that way you can get the DCA in to the crypto experience. Now, I actually use Roundly X for their ideal bumps. I really recommend it. If you don't know what that is, try it out. Just get in there, try it out, and see what happens. Because what it will do is it will actually give you notifications about upcoming cryptocurrencies that might pretty much just be something you're looking for. I find it really good for finding something upcoming, ready to go, and fresh. Alright, people, so we're going to go ahead and jump into the intro and then see the people we got in for today. This is going to be a fun show. Alright, thank you so much, Round the X, and let's get this going. Alright, thank you again, RoundlyX.com, for sponsoring us. Go to RoundlyX.com, use the Changes Perspective to get your first 15,000 Bitcoin for free today. Today, though, we have a special guest. We are going to jump in with my friend, Mr. Trek2Ks from the Builder DAO. That's right, Mr. Trek2Ks Builder. Come on in, sir. Let's see if we can get him.
Hola. Buenos dias, buenos noches, G and G's. Okay, bro. So we've been trying to get this done for a bit, and even today has its snags, but we're getting it done.
Absolutely, bro. So thank you for coming in, man. You're right. We have been trying to get this done for quite some time. It has been. I know that the network has been wanting us to cover this just because this show is all about changing perspectives, and what the Builder DAO did change perspectives, didn't it? It really made things. People just changed what they were doing, and an entire other similar group of people even changed what they were doing. So we really want to know, what is Builder DAO?
Oh man, it's the idea of two geeks trying to figure out like how to. I don't even know how to word this. In the shortest way I'm going to try to say it is, um, it is a crypto related project. It is not exclusive to the Wax project in particular. Conceptually speaking, you could put it on any chain. Um, but in regards to like me and you being the two geeks trying to figure out how to do something that was like a little different, and at the same time that allowed like the most decentralization and openness. Um, I'm not even gonna lie, y'all. He did X amount of the heavy lifting work because he was the one who was on the Dave. Was it Dave? No, Mike. Sorry, Mike. And what Mike was doing, which enabled us to be able to put together like how the Builder DAO works on a functional level, as far as like I want to build something and I want to contract out my skills to build, and people who go, well, I want something built but I don't want to actually do the building. And so uh it's a coming together of me and 3D's ideas and technology of the Wax protocol, and then in addition to what Mike did to upgrade like how we could do smart contract functions in a more decentralized way. um and I know that sounds kind of convoluted, but it really was us just like trying to figure out how to do stuff, and then we found some things that people progressively like Mike have been working on that worked to achieve like the ideals that we had. And yeah, like we did the first NFT faucet. Like I don't know what else. I wasn't prepared for that question, sir.
Yeah, there's quite a bit, right? So I guess let's bring it down. It's like we did one thing, right, which then made us do another thing, which then got us to another. So I guess let's start off with what were we building at that made us go, well, we need a decentralized way to accept building proposals.
Okay. Oh man. All right. So that started with the other Mike. Shout outs to Spore Baby. Um so I had met him in Miami. I forget which conference it was for, but this was during the whole C19 period. And so we were talking about virtual, worlds and VR metaverse stuff. And you had really got me in on the uplift. And so, going through my journey and experimenting and building within that. And then later on having a conversation and stuff with Mike because he was looking to do something in the virtual world. And basically what we did, y'all, was we designed and actually built a 50 by 50. Was it 50 by 50? No,
Yep.
100 by 100?
Yeah,
A
100
100 by
by
100
100.
plot in the uplift metaverse, which if you understand how the scaling works as far as plot size, 100 by 100 isn't the smallest, but and it's not, what is that? The 250 I think is the biggest one.
500 by
Um
500.
but it is 500. Okay. It is still sizable, y'all. And so if you know anything about the Minecraft ecosystem and you've done any building in that or even demolition, it takes time. And the basic idea was that we built an entire above and below ground, let's say, ecosystem that is all centered around mushrooms. Every building, all of the information stuff. Um, I mean, you could definitely spend a good while exploring each individual structure, and it's 4 quadrants, and there is a different mushroom style structure in each above ground area, and then there's the below ground part, and that like is one of those you got to see it to like believe it because it was me and 3D going back and forth on ideas about, well, how do we do something mushroom themed. And I mean, it was a lot of looking at mushroom pictures. It was a lot of like sketching stuff out, a lot of back and forthing on
There,
like, well, what do you think of this, or how about this idea? And
there ended up being a lot more
trying
research
to
into just what the ideal the person came to us. So this is, I think, the best point that
yeah.
people are going to be missing is we had to do a lot of research to figure out how to do the build to make it somewhere. The person wanted it very accurate, right? And that was the part that made us go, hey, this might not be the thing for everybody. And then looking into it, we found an actual market for people who were doing this. They were actually building stuff on Minecraft for people. And we were like,
Yeah.
there's got to be a better way to do this, right? And then we started into the ideal of Builder DAO, which I think was how it started off first, right? Just the ideal of people should be able to make proposals for build stuff. How can we make that
Mm-hmm.
decentralized? And that's when we got to the other mic with Wax DAO, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was trying to figure out like so you made the point, like, yes, there was a market. Like, we're not saying that we created the market. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is we were trying to figure out a better way to optimize how the market worked as far as the people who build, who have the knowledge and the understanding and the time and skill set to build, and then the people who want stuff. Um, if you go into X number of the metaverses that are like either the popular ones or the non-popular ones, whatever the top 5 or 10 are, um, you'll notice that there's kind of 2 ways that this thing plays out currently. And it's funny enough that it's still now, considering how old some of these platforms, these spaces are, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's either you have something like, let's say, for example, a Second Life or something on the other end of the spectrum, like a Decentraland, where Second Life has X amount of a team that builds their stuff. If you take the time to learn, I forgot what the language the program is,
YAML.
you can do stuff. What's the name of it?
YAML. YAML.
YAML, right. So you can do stuff. But that's like you, right? And then you have like what their team does.
Yeah.
If you look at how Decentraland is, it's X amount of just the community being like, all right, well, I want this, this, and this. And it's not as much of the company or the team behind the platform has a set group of people within the company or within the group that just build all of the structures and the layout of everything. Decentraland was more like, hey, here's a virtual space, here's a metaverse, community, come in and build whatever it is you want. And so when you look at how Decentraland looks, where there isn't necessarily a uniformity of design concept and style compared to like a Second Life, it's how am I saying this? It's the part of where there are still people who want to build. Like, you can't go to Second Life and be like, hey, I want to make this part of the world where it looks exclusively like blah, 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 blah. They're gonna be like, no, that's not what we're doing. Like, we have our packets, we have our themes that we run with, we have our style and how we do stuff. Unless you're taking the time to learn the language to actually build it yourself. Decentraland, hey, I want to do blah, blah, blah. All right, well, there's open space. You own the plot, right? You have the NFT to that plot area. Go build what you want to build. That's what you get. But the market mechanism for how you connect the people who want to build and who can build, or the people who want something and the people who can make it, that mechanism isn't the most fluid or efficient thing. Hence, where we get to the whole thing with the builder DAO of, we can incorporate smart contracts where you do the proposal, you have someone who agrees for it, and then you don't have to worry about, well, is the person going to run off with the stuff? No, there's a whole escrow function that works into it. Like, arguably, like, how do I say this? It's more, side note, am I supposed to be seeing something on my side of the screen right now? Because on the Jitsi, I'm seeing a black screen.
Yeah, it is
I
supposed to
meant to
be
say that before.
sharing through the capturing to you.
Ah, okay. My bad. Sorry, I should have said something sooner because it's been blank for a while. And then I see like in the lower third, the screen with the icons, sort of like wax and uplift, and I see the computer chair.
Yeah, that's the actual capture. And now you should be seeing the window. I think it's now popping in.
Okay,
The
yeah, there we go.
So now you can see what's being displayed behind you.
Yes, there we go.
Okay, awesome sauce.
All right, so all right, my bad. I'm sorry. I should have said something sooner, bro.
No, it's
My
all good,
bad.
bro.
I was like, wait, maybe it might just be displaying on his side, and it'll like record in.
Oh yeah, they were the audience definitely be seeing it. It's on it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just
All
Jitsi.
right. So
It takes
sorry.
its time loading in the codecs, I think.
Gotcha. So yeah. Back to the thing of like, the market itself isn't necessarily the most fluid thing. So like, what is it? Discord? I forget whose thing it is that you could do like the, hey, I want somebody who can build this for me, but you don't have the smart contract functionality in how the Discord market works. The same thing in regards to even is it eBay I'm thinking of, where it's like somebody makes the proposal of, hey, I build blah 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 in this metaverse. I know this language should be able to build in this metaverse. Here's how much I might charge. But you still don't have a crypto related mechanism as far as a smart contract, as far as the monetary side of it, where someone can come up and be like, okay, well, could you build this for me? How much are you charging? Okay, this is how much you're charging, either as a flat rate or an hourly thing. And then it has that automation factor to it that smart contracts bring. Like, that's not there in any of the other markets that are out there right now. Other thing to note is that from when we started this idea to where things are right now, and I remember when what was that? ETH Denver. I was at, I think,
Yeah, yeah, it was ETH Denver.
2021, and I had came back and I told you, I said, yo, they're white labeling whole metaverse setups
Yeah.
where the and and what's funny is now I can look back on it and be like, oh, okay, I get what was going on for what these, because it was literally like pocket firms. And when I say pocket firms, I mean it as in like small groups, and they were like, oh, well, we're a metaverse company, and what we do is we just build out your metaverse for you. But what was going on the back end was they were like, well, we're really just using more advanced tools such
To
as
make it happen.
Unreal Engine, and there was something else. And then like one or two of them probably like did some custom stuff. But the idea was you could use Unreal, and I forgot the name of the other one, where you could build out a whole metaverse if you were really dedicated on it, and depending on the size and like scale of what you were going for, it might take you a day, it might take you a week, again, what scale are you going at and all of that. But the point being is you didn't have to do it at the coder level. So now we're getting into building metaverses at a non-coder level where it's just more about what is it called? I forgot what the type of thing is called, but like you have whole templates for structures, for floors, for fauna, for lighting, for skylines, like, and all you're doing is just really doing a placement of a drag and drop. So you have that happening, but work as a it doesn't work the same way in voxel based metaverses versus something like a Grand Theft Auto environment, which I can't think of the word for that right now. But the point of what I'm saying is that you had the companies that were coming around during that 22 period or either before that, and the whole ability to scale of building. And then it started coming out publicly that, yo, you don't need to go to the firm that's going to charge you a sizable amount to be able to build um, whatever metaverse related thing you want to build. But the issue still boils down to the market mechanism wasn't there to connect basically the buyer to the seller. Like, that's it. Unless you were going to the conferences, unless you were going to the different websites and trying to figure out who was who, like, and it still comes to the point of it's still that level of quote centralization as far as like, well, I have to go to a conference to meet the single company person or people, whatever, that are doing this thing, versus how do I shop out my idea and figure out who can build it at a more cost effective thing for me with the and like desirable result. Like, so arguably it is kind of a Fiverr thing of, hey, this is what I would like, who can do it? Or, hey, I can do this, who's interested in my skills? And all in the smart contract setup in the wax using the wax protocols. Like, so a better or a more upgraded version of Fiverr.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
arguably you could
that's
do other stuff too.
yeah, and that's gonna get us into the next point is um, it started off just for like Minecraft and stuff similar to, and then it just kind of now we're looking at the next iteration and the next expansion of it. It's literally just whatever, right? The next one, it's more for anything, and that brings us to the Metaverse Toolbox. It really does. You kind of hinted at it. Let's go into it.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Metaverse Toolbox.
Okay, so this idea started from when we started doing the spaces, and it's one of the dudes that we know, JG Wentworth, and he was asking the question of like, I hear what y'all are talking about, but like, how do I find this stuff? Like, if it's all these different platforms and these different websites that I'd have to find and look for and da da da, like, is there a and the irony of this is is there a centralized place that I could find the information? And it was like, no, actually, like, we just know it because, like, we talk how we talk and we pay attention to what we do, but like, we look around and then we come back to each other and like, oh, have you seen this site? Oh, do you know about this thing? Oh, did you try to do this? And so that got us to the idea of, and it was another God, I can't remember his name right now, but it was us three putting together no code and low code
Oh,
resources.
Mr. Rossier. Yeah, he's actually mentioned in the
Yes,
bottom
Mr.
of the
Rose,
page.
thank you.
We all are,
Yeah,
thankfully.
yeah. So the credit of it goes to JG, JJ Wentworth asked the question. And when we were doing the spaces, we were like, we should put something together. And so after the spaces, we ended up putting this together. And here's the unique thing about this, and in that we went with doing it on IPFS because the idea is, if you're into decentralized storage, if you're into having access to information, we figured, as opposed to doing like traditional website stuff, let's do it this way because um, in going down this path, it's like, hey, we're not worried about if the website goes down, if the server did whatever, if we shared some platform that, like, somebody might not be particularly fond of. um Granted, in concept of the information is centralized as far as it being one place, but the idea of it being disseminated is decentralized, in that if you're on the IPF network, you're running a node, like, please do add this into your setup so that other people who are also using IPFS or other types of decentralized storage information can also add this in and have access. And again, we cover like a number of different things, from like spatial to Decentraland stuff to, Wax protocol stuff.
Even
And the
hubs.
idea of, sorry, and hubs, yeah, and even hubs, and the idea of, it's not just like you have to be a super techie code person in order to be able to participate in this. And there's no arguably right or wrong path for you to take to experiment and understand, like, well, what are the pros and cons of hub for whatever your project or the thing that you want to play and mess around with, versus using spatial, versus using Decentraland. Like, it's all a sliding scale on what you're comfortable with, and like, does it help you meet whatever it is you're trying to build, right? Whether it is that you're the person who has the idea and you want to get somebody who can build in a particular environment, or you're the person who has the knowledge base and skill set to build and you look to only work in a particular environment, or you look to work in multiple environments. Um, and so this is what we had came up with. Now, granted, some folks might be like, oh man, there's no pictures and it's not fancy and blah, blah, blah. We're
Mhm.
working on it, folks. We're working on it.
Believe it or
Like,
not, it
it,
does
it,
have images, but unless you download the entire IPFS folder, they're going to take time to load in. But once they load in, the page will automatically adjust. So it's actually one of those auto-adjusting pages for the screen. No matter what screen size you have, it just automatically adjusts. So you load this on a cell phone, it will look slightly different. You load this on a really big screen, it looks completely different. And that's the beauty of the page is, as more people input into it and help us build with it, the better and bigger. Like, actually, if you notice the background behind me, just some of the images are trying to load in now. So the more people that get with us, the better this can actually look. The more fancier it can really look, and the more people hosting the file, the faster things will load in. And that's kind of why he's asking, hey, if you're on IPFS, don't just pin the folder. Download the folder, check the files, make sure you got nothing bad, and then upload it back into your IPFS as a native file, and let there just be a native location for it to exist online, and let's decentralize the location of this website. Because it's just a folder. So if someone wants to build another version of this, it can actually be built right in there, placed inside the folder, and everyone would be able to find it, which means there'll be another version of this that other people could access as well.
There you have it. Yeah, like so we came to this idea. We put this up. This has been up for like I want to say more than a year now.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the other thing is that the from when we started this idea to where things are now, like you know what's funny about the metaverse, I don't want to say market, but like area. And I'm not saying market because I don't want to make it sound like it's a transactional money thing. But from a tech standpoint, the amount of development, like there's been things, but then there's not things. And when I say there's not things, it's more of a there are more options now to be able to spin stuff up. But when you look at like what is the more popularly known stuff, like the more big name platforms on a technical scale, like most of them have not done anything new. But at the same time, as far as the ability of a non-coding person to be able to design, set up, and implement some type of blockchain smart contract functions into a metaverse, that stuff has scaled. Um, that stuff has moved in a more not hockey puck, but the point being is like those developments have happened to where now it's more scalable at quote like the retail level. But there's still the things of like the innovational part, like case in point again, like the idea behind this just being a marketplace to bring in builders and people who want stuff built. That's not out there in any of the other platforms you look at. Look at Sandbox. Sandbox is another example, right?
Yeah.
You have the company. The company has their set of people internally that are their designers and builders. If you did have, you know, a plot of space in Sandbox, like you still have guidelines on quote what you can and can't do, and it's assuming you have the skill set or the money to pay somebody to build, but you're still quote limited to certain degrees. And yo, you know what I didn't tell you this. I thought they did something the other day that I can't remember right now. They partnered with somebody. And I thought about it and I was like, yo, I think the company's gonna be acquired, or it looks like positioning to be acquired in probably 3 years. Like, I don't know why, but I don't see Sandbox as we know it today being here 5 years from now. That's just how I'm looking at some of the moves, and I don't pay a whole bunch of attention to them. I'm not saying this as a financial thing. I'm not saying this as a CPA, a lawyer, or a financial advisor. My point to it is that it goes in line with the advancement of the technology that builds these metaverses. Sandbox is not a leading technical innovator as a platform. And so in my mind, for the things that I see them doing right now, it looks like there's a potential of them setting up for an exit where I don't see them being here past another 5 years. I could be way, way wrong. And all of a sudden, they get a new infusion of developers and they have somebody at the helm who's really about doing some really innovative ass stuff. And then, like, next thing you know, like their popularity, their desire to be popular matches their technical innovation level. It could be. is just not how I see it right now with them. Sorry for the tangent, but I was thinking about that the other day.
I mean, you're basically just saying that these big platform entities that we have are not guaranteed to last, which is the one of the reasons why building your own metaverse or building in a metaverse that's more modular, compoundable, or even more user based so you can own the things you use. Like, um, for example, the plot we did for Mike, the Spore Baby plot, um, we actually have a copy of the plot. So, if something happened and that server went down, that metaverse went down, we have a copy of the plot. I can just populate it somewhere else, and our our
Literally.
our client is not ruined. He is safe, even if the metaverse isn't. And that's the point of the tools that we have behind us right now. That these metaverse toolbox tools is they give you the tools to kind of build safety around what you own. And even if the platform drops, if you own the assets inside of it, you can rebuild it, you can recreate it, you can redo it. Um, and I think that's the one of the things that Trek really pushed in the whole thing, the whole time. He really pushed it, and we're even still pushing it where I have to still go through and remove some of these things. But it's a bit more difficult because it is on IPFS, which means as I remove websites, other people need to see
Hmm.
why. So I actually have to put in comments of the when we delete websites, I have to put in comments why it was deleted. So we don't actually delete it; we just comment it out, and I say, hey, this company has changed their policies, and so we can no longer accept it. But
Yeah.
for example, if I'm pulling up someone else's IPFS file of this version, I might get an old version of the actual file, and I might not be able to see those changes. But the great thing is, if you was to go in here and inspect the page, the comments still show through. So throughout the whole thing, even if you can't see what's going on, you can still go through and read the comments of what we're saying about these things. So sometimes there's comments in here about each one that'll be like, yeah, I thought this site was pretty good, or we like this because. So there's comments throughout these sites sometimes that are like hidden data for anybody who wants to really go hunting.
Mm. Oh, so just step back one. So the initial idea to, like, off of the initial conversation question was like, well, how do we, like, what is the criteria? And so it was basically, is it is it free or is it low cost? And initially we went with, is it free? Is it free, open source? What was the other thing? Free, open source, um, low code, no code. And those are like the four things that we were looking at. And it was crazy because, not crazy like, oh my God, but it was interesting to note, right? We started the idea, we put the whole thing up, and then, like, I want to say within like 6 months, and this was around, I don't remember if it was a, no, it was around when there was the whole um text to picture, like, push on the AI generative art thing.
Yep.
Within like 6 months, a number of the sites that were open source and free started putting up paywalls. And so that changed it to where we're like, all right, well, are we now looking at like low cost site stuff too? Because so what was all open source and free beforehand, once the market started getting pushed about generative art, because
Yeah,
the
once they saw
generative art
profit
as
in the
far as
market.
pictures is one thing, but what you then saw like a couple of months in, and that was like the right, and then it started moving into making some kind of 3D model of of a scene. And then so
Hmm.
now you have it where um there was the, and it took a little bit more to laid out, and like more iterations and more platforms popping up saying we can do blah blah blah. But the point being is that the market definitely started changing, and so my point, as far as, there is some innovation, but then it's kind of like what you're seeing in the major platforms, it's not there. the innovation isn't happening in the big name platforms. That's the irony of this whole thing. So being able to create a let's say a plot and turn it into a 3D space um using I forgot whose platform it is right now.
Spatial
It's
and
one
on
of
Cyber does it.
the generative art joints, but the idea of you don't have to, and this is like right. So this is like the whole no code, low code solution of stuff where you don't need to know how to code to make the building and then fix the lighting and then have the plane do an incline decline in a certain way or have the shading happen. Like this is just all right. Well, I want a building that has futuristic things and blah 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 blah, and then it gives you that little box thing, and you can do X amount of walking through it or viewing, moving around in it. Like, and that's what I'm talking about. Like the scaling is not the scaling. The innovation is happening, but it's not in the major platforms. And so in my mind, and there's an idea that I definitely have let sleep a little bit more than I should have. The thing that I was telling you about the whole pop-up market stuff, which there's a lot of technical back-end stuff that I still can't wrap my head around on how to get it to execute exactly. But the point being is, and I said this to 3D a while ago, is like one of our conversations on the metaverse, the other side spaces, is like people are thinking of the things. It's just a matter of getting the notoriety um, of the folks who are interested in like those technical aspects and details. Most of what we see right now in the space, again, we have a functional, website that shows you these options of the things that you can explore to be able to do. We have the builder DAO, which has these smart contracts that anyone can come up with as far as making a proposal. Anyone can come up with as far as like, hey, um, let me offer this services as far as building in metaversal spaces or doing some kind of management thing, even for a property. Uh, damn, I had a direction I was going in, and then it slipped me. Um, man, I so lost the thought, but I'm trying to
We got a
work
lot
back
of
to
we
it.
got a lot of the tools set up
Where am I
so you
going?
guys don't have to.
Okay, the stuff is there. It's just not popular, and I'm gonna use us as the example. Um, we have basically that. Like we have the stuff. Like here's the information. Anyone pretty much can have access to it. I think the only limitation is like if you don't have an internet connection, and even in that, like if you got a smartphone, you know, like you might not have a phone that has a plan, but if you can get some Wi-Fi someplace, you can get to this.
That actually a
You
really
can
good
get to this
point.
information, right? Uh, I don't. Damn, I really wanted to try to finish that point, but I can't remember where I was going. Um, but if you have another question, please, because then I feel like I'm not as rambly.
Yeah, Russell, I noticed we're having a large delay, so if it seems like a minute before I'm saying this, that's what's going
Nope.
on. Um, so I wanted to point out that in like the Metaverse Toolbox, we do point out and show everybody the different types of
Yeah.
things inside of it, and
I so
the
I
question I
said this
have for
earlier
you
in
now, because
regards
you're
to this
about to.
conversation of like the idea behind the builder DAO is not exclusive. Ooh.
Yeah, it's not the builder DAO is not exclusive to anybody, right? It's because there was another one out there,
Oh.
and we didn't want to compete with them or anything. We actually wanted to build something that could interlace with them, and so that was the whole point of Builder DAO, was not to be exclusive, but to be available, right? Just to be available for people to have access to, and the more people get interested, the faster we can build things because as they're not interested, we build them at our pace, and then as they're interested, we can have a reason to build it at another pace, I guess. So my question is the builder DAO something really for everybody, and why is it in that means?
You you kind of dropped off a second ago.
Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yo, yo, yo. Okay, so, um, I don't know. I just heard a sound, but I don't know what just happened. Uh, I don't know if Trek can hear me. Trek, can you hear me, bro? Blah, blah, blah. I'm getting audio
Okay, wow.
output.
Is it for everybody? Um, I'm gonna say no. It's not for everybody because that's like saying every. I can hear you.
Bro, I'm so sorry. All the lag stuff you're gonna realize is very confusing. But continue with it's not for everybody because that's I don't. Why is it not for everybody?
So I don't believe it's for everyone because some people as builders or as people who want stuff, they want the more polished looking, fancy or non-granular level stuff. Like example of, right? Everyone, not everyone, but I'm gonna make a very generalized statement about phones. Everyone wants a phone, but not everyone wants the capabilities that come with a Android based phone versus a Apple phone. Some people just want the simplest, easiest, top of the shelf, you know, what's the word I'm looking for?
Product.
Clean product. They don't want none of the granular, extra fancy steps or none of that. So this is why I would say Builder DAO is not for everyone. Because if you want the and the irony of it is we're talking about no code and low code solutions to be able to build and create. But at the same time, even in that, for how our thing is set up, it still wouldn't meet some people's requirement or their skill level or their
Need.
willingness to or need, right? So like if you're looking at it from a how they might want to do their scaling on something similar to well, not scaling, but like you want to do something that's on the design of what's the thing called damn, what's the name of the thing, like Grand Theft Auto, like you want that kind of environment built. All right, well, you know that isn't what's here right now, especially for how we're putting it in the framing of being decentralized, being open source, being, you know, no code, low code, things like that. um and so I never expected it to be for everyone. Like that's the other bottom line of it. I never expected that. And so like I know some people might try to sell the idea of, well, it's decentralized, or well, it's open source, so like it should be for everyone. It is for everyone in the sense of, hey, you definitely have access to this. But in terms of how it meets the needs and where they are and what they're trying to get done, no, it's not. And I'm okay with that. go off and, you know, use the other more fancy big name, whatever, you know, stuff. And if you come back, cool, we appreciate. If you don't, it is what it is. I'm not mad about that. Like, I never expected it to be for everyone from the get-go. That's just
Yeah.
me though.
And I think the great thing about this type of tech is, say you don't want to use the services and systems we got out, and we've curated all this stuff for you. Well, there's still a chance we might see you out there, bros, and we might still see you out there. So it's like it's all good.
Yeah.
Might still see you in a
Like
metaverse or two.
think like even I mean, you could really put that on so many different things when you look at it, like um in the crypto space and like other things. Like I said, even with the example of the phone, like everybody wants a phone, but not everybody wants a smartphone. Some people are really cool with just dumb phones. Dumb phones like Ericsson's are still widely used in some parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But like the idea of you still have access to a device that allows you to call over great distances. You met that basic requirement. You didn't need a smartphone to do that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. It's like just because there are other systems and setups and ways to do things doesn't make it the only way you need or the best way possible. And what I like about the stuff that we got such a wide range of things, especially like in the Builder DAO. Like we have in here like what it actually takes to use one of these. So tool type, tool view, what does it cost, or how is it monetizable? What can you do in here, or what are actions available within the metaverse? Like in some of these, it's like one of these is like build guide users, build a collection, generate art, make a contract, compile the contract, deploy the contract, verify the contract, and mint NFTs. Like that's a lot of things you can do in that one tool. And that's why he's saying like, yeah, this might not be for you, but some of these tools might have solutions you're looking for. And that's the really great thing is they're so vast differently from end to end is there might really be something here for you. So before we keep going, I want to really point out like if you go into search, at the top of search there is a no code needed button which has even basics, advanced, and content creation underneath that as options you can search through. There's also a low code needed in case you do know some low code. You want to use that. You want to just create content, not a problem. You just want some advanced metaversing, not a problem. Basic metaversing, not a problem. Or you got coder ready, same thing. Basic, advanced, or content creation. And if you're thinking that there is not advanced for code ready, you're crazy. And if you're thinking there's no content creation for code ready, you're crazy because here it is. Make a DAO on ETH if you're code ready. And that's what I like about this stuff is the vast differences. Even if you think there's nothing here for you, there's probably something here for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, bro.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add in, shout out, or mention?
Um, can I talk about the spaces?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
Uh so me and 3D, we do this we do a Twitter Spaces which is called Metaverse is the Other Side. And as I started off this initial conversation with about like two geeks trying to figure stuff out, like two geeks just talking about different things that we see in the space, or like how we question things, or wish things would go, or our interpretations of like some of the news worthy things, and not from a like a price talk standpoint, but like um fundamental news stuff, like is this some new tech innovation or whatever. And then we just have like conversations. We've done the cartoon and movie and anime reviews from like Johnny Mnemonic to Free Guy. We've talked
Oh,
about things
oh,
like what is
genocidal
what's that?
Oregon. Oh my gosh, bro. I've watched it
Oh
again.
God.
I've watched that thing like four
Yo.
times. It's so good.
Okay. Listen. Like there is a anime that is based on a manga called Genocidal Organ. If
Random
you dig
anime
in on
movie.
that, it will blow, like the concept of the book and the movie will blow your mind. If you're a techie person and you
Hmm.
look at how some of the stuff plays out on the military side of it, if you know who the name Edward Bernays is,
You,
like
you're gonna love this.
it's a deep rabbit hole. It is a deep rabbit hole. Um, we've gone into conversations about things like um, Ready Player One and like the distinction between the book and the movie. Um,
The distinction
we
between
talked
it being
about
possible the way they have it and how we would be able to do it in reality right now.
yes, um, what cyber warfare is going to look like in metaverses, and what will like backdoors, quote backdoors, actually be versus not, or just the idea of like, well, how would you actually deal with setting up a private metaverse or some space, making it like a space within a metaverse that is actually cut off and private. um oh, what was the other one that we talked about that, like when I heard it later on, because so we do our lives on Thursdays at 8 p.m. and then we do these replays on another network that we're affiliated with, the Gentleman of Crypto. That's a YouTube side. And our episodes are delayed by a little bit for when they actually play. And I re-listened to some of the conversations, and I was just like, bro, we was talking about this months ago. And then like when I look at what's happening in the space, it's just like, damn, like we was talking about this like 3-4 months back, and now this is going on. Um, and so if you're into geeking out about the possibilities as well as like the actuals of things related to metaverses, we don't do price talk, we don't do no pump dump, we don't do no what's the T, what's the alpha. That's not what we do on that. Like we literally are geeking out about other topics related to metaversal stuff, as far as building tools, as far as platforms, as far as like what countries are doing for their whole metaverse, Web3, blah, blah, blah. Um, and even some of the things as far as like what some of the traditional game players are doing. Like we had a whole conversation about the Dungeons and Dragons
Yeah.
OGL license thing, and
How that innovated
eventually
the
that
entire
conversation,
market. That innovated the entire market.
yes,
There are now direct competitors to the D&D playstyle because of it. I still find it hilarious. They shot themselves in the foot in the best way possible. Direct competition in a friendly manner.
yes. So we get into like those kind of things, and we throw it out to the folks who come and join us on Thursdays at 8 p.m. That's East Coast US time. um and then sometimes we go off on tangents, and then we get into like different business ideas on, and we be throwing out some really funny ideas, not funny haha, but like, oh, somebody could do this and you could do it this way. And then lo and behold, like we have a market mechanism that would work to facilitate it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think there's been a couple times
but
we've come up
yeah,
with an ideal and then we saw it happen months later, um, which is freaking crazy. But that's how you know you're on the pulse with the info, right?
yes, definitely. But yeah, so like that's what we do. We design, we build, we tinker, we try and do some innovative things. Case in point, like I said at the top of this, like um we did the NFT faucet. And if you've been in the space for a minute, like about faucets back in the day. And if you're new to it, like faucets are still a thing, except nowadays, no one's doing not no one. I think it's like maybe one or two sites that are still doing the Bitcoin faucets, but it's not
Hmm.
anywhere near what it was like back in 2016,
Oh yeah,
2014 period.
I used to have an entire
Um,
website that had like over at one time over 100 sites dedicated to giving away free cryptocurrency, and now
Crazy.
two. There's two.
You see what I'm saying? Like, but granted, we're not giving away Bitcoin, but we are working it out that you see how this stuff works, and we're building it. Well, we have built it on the Wax protocol, and
Mm-hmm.
if you know how long Wax has been around, I mean, say shout outs to Wax too, because I think that considering the time that they've been in a space and compared to some of the other, let's say, blockchains in this,
Ecosystem.
space ecosystem, they, in my mind, have been the least flashy. And I say that as far as they've been more about, like, all right, granted, their documentation for how X amount of the tech works is kind of horrible as far as like the public facing stuff, but they have definitely been more about building a more secure, more accessible blockchain
Environment.
technology and environment than compared to some of the other platforms that are all about, well, we have high user, activity, we have a high throughput, we can do blah 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 blah, and then there's a whole bunch of blah 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 blahs, and then you hear about the crazy, X number of $1 million hack that happened. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't just happen once in the year, it's like multiple times. Or you hear about how they had to turn off or pause or reset their blockchain. And I'm not saying Wax did this, I'm saying other
Other blockchains that are
blockchains
as fast as
have
this
been
one.
doing this.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't realize like
And,
Wax Protocol does like things like 500,000 transactions a second or something. It does insane transaction count. And you're right, it's only had a handful of hacks, and all the hacks were basically someone finding out just like what's that, social engineering their way through someone's passcode or something like that. So it wasn't even a real hack.
mm-hmm,
It wasn't even, and but that just shows that that they were worried about things like how can we know that people we are looking at are the people we are looking at. Like for example, we created this, right? They know who we are, and we don't even have like the thingy saying that they can guarantee that we are the official version just because we didn't go through like, hey, here's my ID, blah blah blah. So I mean, like they take
mm-hmm.
the verification side seriously. They take, and they used to, like back when Rarible wasn't taking that type of stuff seriously, and these people were. That's what made a lot of people switch from Ethereum to Wax back in the early 2021, 2022, somewhere in that area. No, 2021 would have been it because
I
this
feel
was
like
done
I
a year
haven't
after
heard nothing about Rarible.
in a long
Oops,
time.
I forgot about the delay.
Oh, go on, bro.
um my bad. So I feel like I haven't heard anything really about Rarible in a while. Like everything is boiled down to build and what's the other market?
Oh, the one with
God
the no royalties.
damn, I can't remember their name. Right, like and that was just a whole marketing scheme as far as like vamping one user base off of another, off of the other platform.
Yeah, they were just taken
Why
off
can't I
of
remember their name right
OpenSea.
now?
I
Open,
don't use
thank
them.
you, OpenSea. And that's the same thing that Sushi Swap, was this Sushi Swap did that to Uniswap.
Yep.
I forget which one came first, but they did the same thing as far as like vamping off of the user base in a marketing style, or using a marketing technique to bring the user base over, which is the same thing that's going on with these two. But the point, like, is the Wax folks have been definitely on their grind. The community may not be the flashiest, they might not be the most outspoken or loud, but if you are looking on, on chain, and you seeing the activity that's generated, it's stuff happening.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then
I'm
they're at
showing
the
the
point now
actual
where like
front
you
side
have
of
some
it right
people who are,
now. Keep going.
yeah, um like Mike, God, what is Mike's last name? Who have like definitely been impactful for taking the smart contract functionalities to the next level on the Wax protocol. And then he also put it out where like, hey, I'm open sourcing this out to the rest of the community. And so again, like it might not be the flashiest thing, but from a technical aspect, like it's definitely innovative. It's definitely coming up with some things that give more control to, I'm gonna say, the operators.
Yeah,
And that's where me and 3D are. Like we like the Android capability of the granular stuff. Like Apple stuff is cool to look at. Like yeah, it's a clean environment, but we like to play with the nitty gritty stuff.
that's true, bro.
So that's where we are. And definitely shout outs to those two um
And
people in group, well, person in group.
I want to point out one last thing. Um, Wax Style, this
So yeah.
Mike, he allowed us to get started by
I'm
burning
gonna
an
say that's all I got.
NFT. By burning an NFT. That's how we got this whole Wax Style thing started, was burning NFTs. So for a company on an NFT chain building a tool that allows you to actually use your NFT to then use the tool to then build on chain, we wanted to respect that because it's so awesome. It's like what the kind of stuff we are asking for, you know? And so now we have an NFT that you can use to get the tokens that you need to then use our system on chain so that way your NFT can bring you to the next level, just like Wax Style did for us.
Yep. So yeah, like that's I know we said a lot of stuff, and I know X amount of my things weren't the most cohesive as far as my part of the conversation in relation to the Builder DAO and like what it does and like what got us to do it, and how it works, quote, which yeah, we were definitely talking about like doing a video that breaks that down. Um as far as like being able to show here's how you do this part, here's how you do the other, like here's the proposal part of it process, here's the request part of it, the in that process. And yeah, like we gotta get that out there. It we're more on the marathon of things versus the sprint. And granted, sprints look fancy and nice and all of that stuff, but when you're trying to approach things from the more technical, is it sustainable? Does it have, resiliency in it? Um, excuse me, flashy and quick and fast and break things doesn't always work. So
Absolutely, bro. So now I really appreciate you coming in and joining us to change people's perspectives on
sorry.
what it really means to be
um,
working in a
sorry, that's all I got,
centralized
bro.
world.
I'm done. I promise.
Absolutely, man. Not a problem. I know this lag is really messing with us. I can see even Jitsi keeps cut in and out on me. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Just go ahead and hang on the line for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and put you on mute while we go ahead and do the outro. I want to go ahead and thank everybody. Thank the sponsor. Everybody, thank you for coming in today and joining us for Trek. No, wait, Trek. Bro, you gotta tell them how to find you. I just realized we didn't tell anybody how to find you. How do they find you? Earlier on the screen, I showed them the QR to find Wax Style, but how do they find Trek with two Ks?
Oh, sorry. So basically, if you put in my name as it is spelt, TREKKW2KS, it takes you to all of my social media stuff. Some things I am more active on than others. So, Twitter is definitely one of the mainstays right now. I'm on IG and I'm on LinkedIn. Those are like the three pretty much main places that you can find me. And again, if you put in the name as you see it, all of my related social media will pop up in a search engine.
Yeah.
I've spent a quite amount of time like working to make it that I'm that search result. And like that was a lot of legwork to do that. So yeah, TREKKW2KS, and it takes you to pretty much all the social media stuff for me.
All right. Thank you so much, Broseph. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got the QR on the
that's
top
it.
right
And
for
then
everybody right
Weekend
now.
Crypto. So yeah, Weekend Crypto is a show that I do on the Gem on the Crypto side. And that is, what is that? Basically, I cover weekend crypto related news. Again, I'm kind of a big proponent of like no price talk stuff. But I do think that the news events do give indicators or give confirmations on patterns of things going on within the space. And yeah,
Yeah, it's right up there on the top. Weekend in Crypto. Actually, it appears like fourth or fifth in the search. That's what's up, Broseph.
that's it, bro. They can see it on the screen. So hopefully it makes sense.
Absolutely, it does, Broseph. Thank you, everybody, for showing in. I'm going to go ahead and do these outros while we go and have some fun.